So my background, I suppose, I think the first thing I thought of when I was reconstructing my slides last night was, why do I find myself in this position of sitting here? Like, why am I working with these guys? Why do I do nature connection work? And why not be just an accountant or be an engineer or a lawnmower mechanic, which are all great things to be. Why do this work? And I suppose I can trace it back. I think I can trace it back into my upbringing. There's a couple of key events key things I was doing in my upbringing. One was at an early age I got into birds. I have no idea how it happened, but an old friend of mine, Roger McCabe, and I at Urunga, he lived behind the old Antimony swamp at Urunga there, and we used to go out in toxic sort of forays out into the swamp, and we just got into looking for birds together. So I had a buddy, and we were both, I suppose you consider us nerds, it wasn't exactly like super cool to be into birds at Urunga Primary School in the 1970s. It wasn't how you got a girlfriend or you impressed girls or anything like that. It is now, though, I have to say. I did go back to Urunga Primary School last year with a National Parks job, and I said, how many people here are into birds? And I expected two little kids at the front with glasses to put their... And about 40 kids put their hands up. Wow, it really is getting sort of cool to be into birds. You can actually be out and proud now about that. So that was like a beginning, getting into birds. And then the next key thing was that my dad sort of didn't just sort of say, put those binoculars away, that's dorky, I don't want that out when my friends are here. He picked it up and he'd take me along to the Ilatara bird watching group, which is a bird watching group, mainly of really old people. That's how they felt when I was 10 anyway. And we go along with this Ilatara group, and I didn't know a lot about birds, but I had good eyes and they had really shocking eyes. So they would just sort of really encourage you. They'd be saying, what could you see up there, Andrew? And I'd say, I think it's a regent bowerbird. And they'd, oh, is it? And they'd be looking at something that clearly was just like a flower or something like that. But it made me feel like I was the expert, and it really gave me a sense that I was sort of, I had something to give, and I belonged to this I felt like I belonged to the group. So if you look at how that data stream that's come in to replace the natural sort of input of data we used to have from our natural world, constant inputs about the changing weather and the cycles and the seasonal movements and all the rest of it, we've sort of disconnected from that. And instead we've connected into a new data stream, and that data stream is overwhelming. So just a couple of quick little statistics on that, which I find quite incredible. So in 1992, when you were, how old? Yep. I know, it's amazing. In 1992, the global internet usage was moving around 100 gigabytes of data every day, which I think sounds like a lot still. But only a decade later, after Maget was born, we were moving 100 gigabytes of data every 60 microseconds. So that means that's led to a situation that by 2003, every 2 years after 2003, we were generating as much data in those 2 years as all the data and information, all the song and story and whatever we've written down in books from the dawn of human civilization through to 2003. So 200,000 years of creating human data is now being generated every 2 years, and in a few years' time that'll be every 6 months. That data is just like a constant stream of digital information coming through our phones, our computers, our radios, our TVs, our iPods, and soon it'll be coming through our homes. And so when that data stream flows through the brain, it's overwhelming us. It's overwhelming our brains were never evolved to deal with 100 gigabytes of data per 60 microseconds. We're not hardwired to be able to deal with that sort of input. And so the way that our nervous system responds to that is to dampen down. It's to shut down the sensory inputs and to walk around in a bit of a haze. Often when I'm in Sydney or Melbourne, I walk around and I can see people they've had to bring down their sensory inputs down to just a very narrow field, because otherwise they're overwhelmed, because they've already got so much data coming through the system. And I do get overwhelmed there because my sensory inputs are still wide open. I feel like a hermit crab with no shell down there, you know, just sort of really soft and squishy and exposed. And that, because we do dampen down our sensory inputs, I think that the lives we live with this sort of data overload means that we live impoverished sensory lives. Now, Nature Connection can really give something back there, because, and I've seen this happen so many times, when we get people out, put them out in the bush and put them through some exercises like sit spots. Sit spots, for you may not know what sit spots are. Sit spots are like putting people, young people particularly love sit spots. They call them shit spots to begin with, but then they love them. You basically just sort of, you go out into nature quietly and sit for up to half an hour or more, and just, that's it. You don't do anything else. It's like, it's pretty uninstructive apart from that. But as you sit there, what's happening is that sort of, that data connection that you've had from your, you know, before you arrived starts to ebb away, and you start to, your sensory world starts to slowly open back up again. You know, a bit like a little hermit crab coming back out of its shell. It sort of starts to feel safe and come back out.